Hi everyone, welcome to our event. This event is brought to you by DataTalks.Club, which is a community of people who love data. We have weekly events and today is one of such events. If you want to find out more about the events we have, there is a link in the description. Go there, click on this link and you'll see all the events we have in our schedule. Then to make sure you do not miss any of our events, live streams like today, subscribe to our YouTube channel, so then you will get notifications from YouTube about that. And then finally, we have an amazing Slack community. Join us if you want to hang out with other data enthusiasts. During today's interview, you can ask any question you want. There is a pinned link in the live chat. Just click on that link and ask your questions. And also during today's interview, you will just see my face. So this is nothing is broken. This is on purpose. So yeah. And I guess now I will stop sharing my screen. And I will now open the document with questions that we prepared for you. And I think I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so let's start. This week we'll talk about self-studying and continuous learning in machine learning and bioinformatics. We have a special guest today, Aaisha. Aaisha is a self-taught bioinformatician, machine learning engineer, and data scientist from Johannesburg, South Africa. She graduated from machine learning Zoomcamp that we have here at DataTalks.Club, and she studied Python and basic web development, and she maintains a blog on bioinformatics and machine learning topics. Beyond that, she's interested in many other things, such as photography and digital art. So maybe if you saw the picture we have for the cover today, like there is this spicy mushroom, and this is what we talked about. So this is something Aaisha drew. So welcome to our interview today.
I'm glad to be able to speak on the podcast, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. The questions for today's interview were prepared by Johanna Bayer. Thanks, Johanna, as always, for your help. You are very helpful in preparing all these questions. And let's start. So before we go into our main topic of self-study and continuous learning in machine learning bioinformatics, let's start with your background. Can you tell us about your career journey so far?
My career journey, I would say, is like just beginning still. Consider I'm basically a student. I've been mostly doing my studies up to now. But I started studying Python quite a few years ago. I don't remember how old I was. I think I was like 12 or something, or 11 maybe. And I did like introductory Python, and then I did like JavaScript and HTML and CSS, like the standard I want to do coding, what do I do package. And then I discovered like data science and bioinformatics, and I was like, okay, this is like a cool field to go into. And I started studying that, and I was also studying like biology and chemistry and like the more sciencey fields. And then recently I started going into more machine learning and like actually focusing on trying to build my career in machine learning. So that is like my goal now, is to like establish myself in machine learning and still be able to like do my bioinformatics along with it, if there's like some way I can merge these two different fields I've been doing. And then scientific illustration is something I want to like pursue on the side, maybe as like a second field or something like that.
Scientific illustration, what is that?
Scientific illustration is like, there are different types of scientific illustration. Like I'm not sure if you've seen those where they make like infographics or like animations or stuff explaining like scientific concepts.
New York Times. Well, New York Times is different. Maybe there are not so many, not so much scientific, but
Yeah,
I
but
think
there
I
are I've
know what
seen
you mean.
I've seen there are like scientific illustrations published in New York Times as well. So that's like one of them. And then also like just general making art to explain science, basically, is how I would describe it. It's like explaining science through art in like a visually engaging, appealing manner for like people maybe who are not so much into science, who just have like a general interest in science. Like explaining all the de-jargonifying science and explaining it in like a easy, nice manner is what I would consider scientific illustration or art as a whole.
I think we had a podcast episode maybe a year ago or sometime like that. It was with Meor, and we talked about visualizing machine learning. And we spent most of the time on that interview discussing how exactly Meor comes with his visualizations,
Mm.
like how he goes from a concept to like an illustration. What is the process? So
Mm.
probably it's related, right?
Yeah, it's like a similar thing.
Mhm. Okay, and then you said you studied Python. You started studying Python like 12 years ago or sometime like that, quite some time ago. And then
No,
you also studied.
it wasn't that long ago. I was
Mhm.
like 12 myself. I was 12 years old.
12 months ago, not 12
No,
years ago.
no, like it wasn't 12 months ago. I was 12 years ago when I started studying Python. I think that was like
Okay.
5 or 6 years ago.
I see, I see. So you're not like you're what I'm trying to ask here is you're not taking these classes as any part of any formal education, right? So you're just going there on the internet, finding things there to study and you just study them, right? Or how does it work? Like how do
Um,
you learn all these things?
okay, so I wouldn't say I like just go on the internet and just start studying things. Like, I try not to be like randomly pursuing everything I find
But it's
interesting
not formal
because
education, right? It's
yeah, it's not like
self-study.
yeah, it's self-study.
You're
But
not
like
doing
I've been
this at
homeschooled.
university. Uh-huh.
I'm being homeschooled, so like I haven't gone to any formal education technically. Like, I never went to school. I've not gone to uni. I like technically, if I was going in school, I would be going to uni now. So I'm not
Mhm.
going to uni. I've not been to any school. So like I everything I know, I've either like my mom used to teach me before that, or I've self-studied. So I'm either homeschooled or self-taught.
Mhm. Interesting. I don't think I ever spoke to anyone who was homeschooled. So how did it feel?
That's such a difficult question to ask because like I don't know
Because
what
you
it would
don't know, right?
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know what it would feel like going to school because I've like literally never gone to school. So
Hmm. But it would be your mother or like just teaching you some stuff, and then eventually maybe it was just you
yeah.
studying things.
Yeah, like obviously when I was a kid, then it was like my parents or whatever would like teach for like we'd study whatever. And like we never like followed a curriculum or something. So I was like, I whatever at that point, like that's why I started studying programming or scientific stuff much earlier, I think, than I would have gotten to at school. Because like I found it interesting. So that my mom would like gather resources and let me learn it and teach me or whatever. And then after that, once I was old enough, I just started studying by myself online with online resources and stuff. So
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, well, when my kid is sick and we need to do some homeschooling too, I just never have patience to actually sit with you and explain all this stuff. So your parents must be very patient people.
yes, my parents put up with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I guess you have more flexibility this way, right? So like if you want to
Yes, way
travel, you
more
just go and
flexibility.
travel.
Yeah.
Oh.
Even not like I'm not like even if traveling and stuff, just in what I'm studying, there's like so much
Mhm.
more flexibility than in school where okay, you're studying one thing and then like you can't study everything you want maybe at school because you have to follow the school system. And this way I can like study things. I can pick and choose what I want to study. Like if there's something I already know, then I don't have to like go through again and like I would have to in school curriculum.
Mhm. Yeah, because what I wanted to ask you next, or the question we prepared, is what motivated you to take this approach? And I guess you kind of answered it already, because you have been doing self-studying since forever, right?
Yeah.
Since school days.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe what is interesting is how do you decide to learn? What exactly, like there are so many things on the internet, right? So you
Hmm.
open any, I don't know, data science subreddit or I don't know, any data science community, and then
Hmm.
you're immediately bombarded with all these links, all these new things, and then you feel, okay, I'm like, I have to study all that, and if I don't, I have this, I have this fear of missing out. So how do you approach this systematically? How do you not go crazy when you need to do
With
this
what
on
there
your
is to study. So as a general like topic, like okay, I want to study, I don't know, bioinformatics or whatever. That I think I started following it like out of interest a bit more because like I always wanted to do like the cool scientific research and stuff. But that hasn't always been possible to like pursue that path. So then I discovered that like there's something more realistic within my reach that I can do with like tech stuff and online and with the resources I have available. And it's sort of like I still get to do the cool sciencey stuff, but it's like practical because I can do it. So that is how I began studying it. And I maybe finding resources, um I don't know, I've always like, maybe I did waste a bit too much time doing like introductory Python courses because I was like, okay, well, I did this course and I did that course, and then like I faffed around for a while. But then I think I've just gotten good at like finding the good resources, because like you get the hang of it after like doing it for a while, of finding out that these are like the best resources. And then it helped that like I had like a sort of guideline in my mind of what I need to know. So I need to know like this much of biology or chemistry or whatever, and my Python skills need to be at this level. And then for bioinformatics specifically, I found this really cool pathway made by the Open Source Society University, where they make like these tracks and stuff. So then I followed that. And I think generally like filtering out information is a skill.
I think we lost you, or at least I don't hear you anymore. Just want to check myself. 1 2 1 2. Yeah, I think I'm still audible. Aisha, I think we lost your sound. Yeah, no pressure. I think all hear something again. So Aisha's mic is glitching. This is what she wrote me. So she should be back soon, hopefully.
Testing, testing.
Yeah, works.
Okay, you got me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't remember what you were talking about when it stopped. Well, you were
Yeah.
talking about different tracks, that there are some open curricula online,
Yeah.
and like you found some tracks for bioinformatics, and this is what you studied.
Yeah. But I think like in general in finding resources, I think spending a lot of time online helps with that, because like you can start curating the resources that you find, and you're like, okay, this is covering this skill set, and maybe this is not what I need right now. And it might be cool, but maybe I can do this at some later point and not now. Or if you can find like communities where people have gathered resources, like, okay, to achieve this certain skill set, this is what you need to learn. And then you can either follow those specific resources, or you can find like alternate resources. But I think majorly what has helped is having a like idea in my mind of what skills I need. So like if I want to pursue machine learning, I need like a basic introductory look at machine learning, and that's why I did the Zoom camp in the first place. It's because I was like, okay, this seems like a good resource to get my basics down. And then once I know a bit more about the field, then I can decide that, okay, what skills do I need to develop further?
Mm. Yeah, I have so many questions based on what you just said. So there are so many interesting directions. So first of all, you said that you developed a feeling, when you look at the resource, you know that it's good. And I
Yeah.
wonder, how does it work? Like, how do you know? Let's say you look at a Zoomcamp. Of course, Zoomcamp,
Yeah.
maybe this is a very good example, right? Because it's good. Of course. I mean, let's not take a Zoomcamp. Like, you take a resource, right? So
Yeah.
how do you know if it's good? Like, how do you understand that?
So like there are a few things I look at. The first, I like skim the syllabus or whatever and see if the content that they're teaching is something that I need right now, if it's like applicable to me right now. So like obviously if there's so much cool stuff that I want to learn, and I'm like, okay, maybe knowing exactly how stars explode in space is not something I need to know right now. So obviously that's something I just like throw out the window there. But then say I pick up like a course on machine learning, and I will see that, okay, the syllabus is good. It's teaching me how to use a framework that I need to know right now. So then I'll like watch like the introductory videos and see that, okay, does it feel like this course is offering quality? Does it look like something that is being taught in a good way? Does it look like the people know what they're talking about, or am I going to get ripped off here? Like that kind of thing, like just gauging the general quality of it. Like if you were to pick up a book and you'd flip a few pages around, read a bit, and you'd see like, okay, does this look like something that is quality? Or does it look like somebody, I don't know, just wrote a bunch of stuff that they don't know what they're talking about and published it? Because obviously on the internet it's like that YouTube stereotype where there are people on YouTube who don't know what they're talking about, but there's so much good resources on YouTube as well. But like you can get an idea for how much the person knows what they're talking about, how beneficial it might be if you like skim through it a bit and like just pick out bits and pieces and like listen to them or whatever. And then you can decide that, okay, this up till now this looks like something that's good, and then you can like commit to studying it and then seeing how it is.
Do you mainly look at free resources or you also consider paid courses?
I try and go for free where possible, obviously, because like it's more affordable.
Free, right?
But if it if it's like good resources, then I'm not like averse to investing in it, because like, okay, this is something that will benefit me or my career down the lane, then okay, it's a worthwhile investment. But I will make sure that if I'm investing in something, it is quality and it is worth it. It's not like I would try to avoid investing in something where I can learn with the free resources, even if it's like a harder study or whatever.
Because skimming a paid course might be more difficult, right? Because you don't have access to the course
Yeah,
usually,
yeah,
maybe some parts, but
yeah.
you don't usually get the access to the course to know if it's good or not.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
cannot
So
really
for
choose.
for a paid resource, I'd go more like, okay, who's the author, who published it? Is there any free content that they've put out, or where somewhere where I can like get a general idea for their sort of content elsewhere, like aside from this one paid course. So you can like get a general profiling of who is teaching the course before you like pay for it. To like get me see if it's credible or not, see their credentials, what work they've done, that kind of things.
Then funny that you mentioned this information about how stars explode, because this is what I was just reading the other day. That's pretty cool stuff and quite interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
but maybe like in this example, if you study machine learning, then
Mm.
obviously astronomy is not super relevant to that, at least
Yeah.
most of astronomy, right? So this is kind of a no-brainer, right? So if you want to
Yeah, yeah.
learn about linear regression, you know that how stars explode is not relevant.
It's not gonna help you.
Yeah, but when it comes to machine learning, there are many things. Like, for example, when I was studying machine learning, I thought that support vector machines are super important to understand. And also because I was taking a machine learning class at the university, and that at the university, the teacher was one of the, like, he was doing a lot of research in support vector machines.
Hmm.
So I thought that it's very important to really understand these things well. But when I started working, I understood that nobody really cares about them. So
Yeah.
support vector machines are not really useful anymore. So how do you understand that? Like, how do you understand these things that, okay, astronomy is not relevant, but when it comes to machine learning, there are some topics that are perhaps more relevant, some are less
Yeah.
relevant. So how do you understand which direction to go?
I think this one is just something like you do it and then realize, okay, it wasn't that needed. Like I spent a lot of time doing a data science course, and that had a lot of like data visualization, and then also had like data cleaning and everything. And at that point I was like, okay, maybe this is not the direction I want to go in. So it's not that important as what I was like, I was doing it for machine learning or data science more. So seeing how the data is cleaned out, or maybe good knowledge to have, but maybe not as relevant as what I wanted to do then. So, okay, I did it, and maybe it would come in handy later, but at the time, it was not what I was looking for. So, I think that's just something you have to like, you figure out after the fact that you studied that, okay, this was not something as relevant, like, because there's no way you'd know that without
There's
studying
no
it.
silver bullet. Okay. So I thought maybe you'll just tell me, okay, do that, and then you'll know what is relevant.
No, unless maybe somebody can figure out some spells, then please share with me.
Uh-huh. Well, I guess in this case, community is helpful, right? So because you can always
Yeah.
ask people
You can
who
ask,
already went through
and
this.
like you could, I think like to some degree maybe it is, you can like get an idea by doing your own research, or like finding people more in the field and like getting their, if they have done like interviews or question answers or whatever, you could like ask them, or communities could be helpful. But I think to some degree it's unavoidable that you end up studying something and you're like, okay, maybe it wasn't that important.
Yeah.
At least
I
in
did a
my
lot of stuff. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
no.
I just wanted to say that while doing my master's and also my bachelor, I also studied a lot of stuff that is not relevant. So maybe if I was doing self-study instead, then things would have been different, right? So
Yeah,
maybe I would
maybe.
have actually spent more time on studying things that are relevant, not because what
Yeah.
the teachers thought.
What the teachers think is relevant. And like
Yeah.
there was somebody who mentioned that they were studying computer science, and they said that for the first 2 years of their curriculum they don't touch computer science at all, and they must learn English and maths and chemistry. So like it's funny how the school system works. Like, why must you study chemistry in your university when you're majoring for computer science? Like, okay, that's one thing to have a basic knowledge of it, and it's one thing that you're studying it in university when you're trying to study computer science. Whereas if you were like, you could just focus on computer science and learn whatever is necessary. And if there are any gaps in your knowledge, you can also like, go back and study later. It's not like if you didn't study chemistry in your first year, but then you need it in your fourth year, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I did not have that when I was studying computer science.
Hmm.
Well, we had
Obviously, that
chemistry,
would
but
that would
later,
also depend on like where you're studying. But like, I'm
university.
just giving an example.
We did have chemistry, but later, like on third grade, which is not really clear why. I mean, I had fun. I like chemistry at school, and then at university, I also kind of enjoyed it,
uh,
but it's not something I really need to know.
yeah,
Apart from having pleasure in studying this,
yeah,
there's no
yeah.
other application.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, but we did spend a lot of time studying math, and while fun, like I enjoyed like solving all these equations and all these things. Like again, at my work as a data scientist,
Yeah.
most of these things aren't really needed. So
Yeah, it's like one thing that you study something because you find it interesting, or you want to go into like a research field or something, so you studied it. But I think in like a day-to-day application, you're hardly going to need a lot of this kind of stuff. And if you need it, again, you can just like say you want to you're joining a you're pursuing a career path, and you're like, okay, this is needed. So you can study it then instead of like wasting all of your time studying it, where you could be building up a main skill instead.
yeah, and how do you approach this? How do you approach learning? Do you focus on building projects? You focus on learning theory first, or how does it work for you in general?
Um, I think a balance of both is needed. Because obviously without make building projects, it's like there's always that aspect to just theory which is lacking, because like you could know something very well in theory, but in practice you're like your knowledge will end up falling short. You run into issues which you wouldn't have known in how to solve with just the theory. But I think also learning new things in the theory is important, like building new skills or advancing your skill set, especially in something like tech. Like if you're to build more projects in like a particular field, but then you're not learning new skills, and then at some point you're gonna be like, okay, these skills that I have are outdated, and I spent all of my time building a bunch of projects with a skill that's now falling out of the market. And like I like learning more by building projects, as well as like I like reading and stuff, so I'll just read a bunch about things, and then I'll go and try to build a project, and I'm like, okay, I did half of the things I learned weren't needed, and half of the things I needed to build the project I didn't know. So then you hit the Google.
Mhm.
So I think like a balance of both is a good way to go, so like you're covered on both fronts.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the projects approach, and then I think I neglect theory, and then maybe it's not the ideal case. Maybe like it should be a
Yeah.
balance, like you said.
Yeah,
Then I'm
but like
wondering,
to some degree, projects are always a bit more interesting because you've like got problem solving or whatever. So I think that the projects have a bigger appeal at some point.
but I'm wondering for you, how do you decide what to build? Like if you want to build a project, then you
Hmm.
probably there is a skill you want to master, and then how do you decide that to master this skill, I want to build this project that should do this, this, and that? How does it work for you?
Um, I don't know. I think I think of ideas first, and then I'm like, okay, this would be a good way to use these skills. Like, I like surfing. I like just surfing on the internet and finding like for the data stuff. I like just finding cool data, and I'm like, okay, what can I do with this data? Because I want to use this data because the data is interesting. And I'm like, okay, maybe this would be something I want to like. I don't know, get better at pandas or something as a random example. And I'm like, okay, I could use this data to build something with this framework. I'm like, okay, let's just do it. Like, there isn't a lot of reasoning behind my project, sometimes beyond it's cool, let's do it. So I like going on those data set searches and just typing keywords which like I'm interested in, and then just seeing what comes up and picking random stuff that is cool.
Yeah, let's say if you're interested in astronomy and exploring stars, you can go to Kaggle or whatever dataset
Yeah,
website, and then you can just look
yeah.
for astronomical stuff, and then, okay, there's an interesting data set. Let's see what I
See
can
what
do.
we can do with it. Yeah. Like another way I found of finding cool data is like, they publish the research papers on random stuff, on like on scientific stuff, and a lot of them they publish the data with it. So it's not very clean data a lot of the time, because not like meant to be used for data stuff. But if you like clean up the data, you can make like, it's a cool way of finding data that's like linked to like a study or something. And then you can see like, oh, what else can be done with this data? Can I like make something cool using this data in a different way, maybe?
Do
So
you put this? Yeah, sorry, please.
I like just going to like studies that I read, because I like reading scientific papers just for the fun of it. So then I bookmark the studies which are cool, and then just see what I can do with the data in my free time.
How do you find these papers that you want to read?
Mostly it's like, I just, if I have like some sort of question, like I was wondering like, I don't know, I'm falling short on examples, but like I spent a lot of time reading about horse color genetics, because I was like, okay, so if the horses have this color, then how does their color genetics work? And then I was like, okay, so how does the eumelanin and pheomelanin pigmentation work? And I just fall in like a Google rabbit hole until I find cool research papers about it.
Hmm. I don't typically do this every day, but I remember when I was preparing for my master thesis, when I was writing it, and
Mm,
of course I needed to do some uh, research to understand what was done before that,
mm,
before my work, what I can base my work on. I
yeah,
found Google Scholar very useful.
yeah,
And
that
Google
Google Scholar
Scholar,
is useful.
yeah, you use it, do you?
Yeah, I use Google Scholar, but often I just go on like the main Google and I just search, and like there's like they just put like research article or article as a keyword, and then you can get like there's like PubMed, Nature articles, quite a few. I'm forgetting the names now, but like there are quite a few which are like free publications that allow you to read the entire things without paying for it.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
another thing.
it's good for like when I'm just sitting free, and I just end up spending like hours on Google, wasting my time reading absolutely random stuff. But sometimes the data can come from it, which is useful.
Yeah, I remember one of the most useful feature of Google Scholar was this citation graph.
Hmm.
So you know what are the impactful papers that this particular paper cites.
Yeah.
So then you can kind of go back in
Yeah.
time and
And you
see
can
what is
also
the
see what
foundation.
paper cited this paper, so you can
Yeah,
like
exactly.
pursue
So
that
then you
one.
have like you have this both directions, right? You can go to the
Yeah.
past and see what was done before, and then
Yeah.
what kind of work was based on this paper.
Yeah.
And then uh, I remember also spending a lot of time on that, but I kind of had uh, to do this because I needed to like one of the chapters in my thesis was state of the art
Mm.
uh, research. I mean, so that was a part of the thesis. Uh,
Oh.
but I can understand how fun it could be, like when you have a topic that you're interested in and just
Yeah.
go there and
Yeah.
explore. And yeah, I'm really curious now to talk about your experience with our course, Machine Learning Zoomcamp.
Mhm.
Mm, how did you find it? Like, why did it attract you? Why did you decide that this is actually a good course?
Um, Mostly because it was fast. Like it was like 4 months, so it's brief. Because like I get bored, so I didn't want to do something that was very long. I'm like, okay, 4 months, it's fine, I can do it. And also,
Is
it
it
mentioned
fast?
like three.
It's
Hmm?
a lot of time. 4 months is a lot of time. Many things can happen in 4 months.
Yeah, but it's not like a huge long 1 year long. You got to study for 1 year to get things
Not for a
done.
year degree. Okay.
Yeah. Like I'm already studying my bioinformatics has been going on for like 3 or 4 years. So I wanted something that's not going on for that long. I wanted something like, okay, just be quick about it. Don't spend years. And I thought that was like a good way to like break into machine learning. Like it's gonna offer me like a good comprehensive look at the different aspects of it. This I got from like reading your guys' syllabus and everything. And then I also saw that I mentioned 3 projects and like weekly small projects. So I thought that maybe it's more project oriented. So that'll be fun because I didn't want to like do too much theory. So mainly the things that was like, okay, it's not that long and it has projects. So I was like, okay, let's give this a try. It should be interesting.
Do you remember where you found it? Like on Reddit or on social media somewhere?
Um, First, my mom mentioned it to me. I'm not sure where she found it. I
That's
think she
interesting.
follows the podcast, the newsletter or something. And
Uh-huh.
then I saw it, and then I saw it after that on LinkedIn. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna check this out.
Okay. So, is your mom listening to us talking right now?
I'm not sure. She might be.
Okay. Well, tell her hi. Anyways, we were talking about projects, right? And
Yeah,
since you mentioned, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about too. So in Zoomcamp, we have these three projects, and
yeah.
I wanted to talk to you, like, to understand how exactly you approached your approach. What was your approach when it came to selecting projects? How did you decide what to do there? Like, was it also the data set first approach, or how did you go about that?
Yeah, I think I was pretty much did as at first approach. Except for the second, like the first capstone project that I was doing the competition, the Kaggle competition for the kitchenware thingy. And then I ran out of time to build a separate one for the capstone, so I used the same project in both places. But the first project I did, like the midterm, was about predicting the toxicity of frogs based on their color. So initially I was gonna make something. I was like wanting to find something cool because I didn't want to do like the economic or political, the like property and price data because that was boring. I don't want to do it. So I think I went, I don't remember. There was like one website, either was a Google dataset search or some other website. And I just like searched like poison or something like that. I initially want to do like I want to do like the most toxic poisons or something like that. But then I found this one where they did an entire study about how a species of frog's color indicates its toxicity, like its brightness and everything. So I was like, okay, well, what if I make a model that can, if you input the data, it can predict the species of the frog instead and how, like its toxicity. So that's what I built then. So I built a model that like it takes the values had to be given in like the accurate form that the study measured them in. So it wasn't like practical probably, but then it would just predict how toxic that frog species would be. So I just went on like dataset search and Googled. And then I think the next one I did was like a landscape recognition. So that also I just like, okay, I went on Kaggle. I wanted for that one, I wanted to do something with like the image recognition. So I just went on Kaggle and I went opened the image recognition data sets and I saw like a landscape classifier. And I didn't have too much time that time around. So I just picked like a easier one and went for the landscape classifier.
Mhm. See, well, this one about frog toxicity is really interesting. So I guess this is one of the things that were interesting for you back then, right? And then you decided to find something
Yeah.
topic,
I
right?
actually wasn't even looking for anything to do with frogs. I was looking for something to do with poison because like I'd been reading about poison recently and I was like, okay, this is cool. Let's do something poisonous. And then I saw the frog one and then I did my research. I read the research papers and then I went to learn about that species of frog. And I was like, okay, this is way cooler. We're doing this.
Yeah, I kind of want to ask you more about like how did you even come across this poison topic? Why? Because like part of self-studying, I guess you said you spent a lot of time just doing random stuff on the internet, reading things. So I'm really curious, like how exactly it happened. Did you even realize that okay, now you're all of a sudden interested in poisons?
No, I honestly didn't. I keep like finding random things that are interesting and then I just spend a lot of time Googling them until I'm bored with them and then I never think about them again. So poison was just one of those. I was like, okay, this is interesting, let's read about it. But then like it's not like a lasting interest.
See, I see. Do you somehow structure all these things? like all these topics, I don't know, poison, then like you said, horse genetics and all the other things. Um, like, or just you keep everything in your mind, like uh, in your brain. How does it work for you?
Yeah, that these are mostly just like I'm free. I have free time, so like I just do random stuff. But none of these are like structured. It's just like okay, whatever interested me at the moment, I might go and read about it. It's like if I have free time or if I like can push my time around, then I'll just squeeze them in anywhere I can. But it's not like something I like dedicate time to reading about or anything. They're like very
Mhm.
unstructured.
Okay, so you, I don't know, wake up, eat your breakfast, and then you have some free time, and then, okay, what I'm going to read about today? Let's read about frog poison.
It's more like I've been thinking about this for the past 1 week, so I'm still reading about it. And I'm like, okay, well, next topic, Chuck, I'm bored of frogs.
Okay, now let's read about horse genetics, right?
Yeah. I
Is
just
it
switch
related?
between them.
Is it related to your interest in bioinformatics in any way?
Bioinformatics is more born from my general, like I was at that time very much obsessed. I wanted to be a researcher at any rate. I don't want to be anymore, but like at that point, I was like, biology and chemistry research is all I ever want to do in life. And then obviously that was not possible at the time because like I didn't have the resources available to like pursue that. And that's probably a good thing because now I'm not so sure if I want to do that. But then at that point, I was like, okay, what else can I do that is related to this? And then I discovered that bioinformatics is an entire field, which is like the closest I can come to combining what I can do and what at the time I really wanted to do. So I was like, okay, this is like a nice mesh of my like obsession at the time and what I can actually do. And then I was like, okay, well, I really want to do this like long term. So bioinformatics was like like one of the things that just kind of stuck around, one of these obsessions that just stuck around.
And I'm really curious about, like, so for example, you said you wanted to do research and then you studied, but then you realized you don't want to do research. But how do you stay motivated when learning by yourself? Because I imagine, for me at least, I quite often need an like external push coming from somewhere
Hmm.
to when I'm not motivated to actually keep learning. Because if I don't do this, then I just, I don't know, not do anything. So how do you keep yourself motivated when you learn by yourself, when you don't have this external push? Then all your motivation is coming from you. Like, how do you do this?
um Honestly, I'm not really sure. I think I like I work better when there's like a deadline. So when I'm like not demotivated, I just set up like, okay, I have to finish this at this point. So then I know like, okay,
You
there's a
set
deadline.
deadlines yourself.
I set the deadline myself, yeah. I think to some degree being homeschooled might have helped with this. Like I've never had much of an external factor to like keep me going. So it's always been like, okay, well, you gotta do this at some point. So just like pick a date and then that date cannot move. So even if I have to stay up to like 2 a.m., I have to finish it because of the deadline. So it's like, okay, I just set my deadlines and then like try to plan them as best as I can. And unless like something very big came up, the deadlines do not move. So if I've been lazy 1 week, I can't say, okay, I'm gonna push the deadline 1 week because I didn't do anything. I'll just have to do it then. So I think that's the like, oh goodness, the deadline's almost here is my motivation.
Yeah, that requires a lot of discipline, because if you set deadlines yourself, then
Yeah.
yeah, like, that's that's really cool. Like, and when you have a deadline and you know, okay, I have to do this, but
Hmm.
then since this deadline is not kind of real, I'm still trying to understand. Like, it probably wouldn't work for me. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think like at some point it's like I'll write my deadlines and I have a sticky note on my computer, like a digital one, obviously, and I just like write in big bold that and to the point where it annoys me and like I cannot remove it until I've finished it. So it's mostly just like bullying my brain into like, okay, you just have to do this now. Stop being lazy. So like I'm not like I don't think I'm very organized with my time. I should be better at it. So sometimes I like will waste an entire week doing nothing much. But then I'm like, okay, well, let's not mess up this one deadline. Let's just stop messing around and do the work. So I think with its ups and downs, like I get by. I won't say I'm the most organized or most very self-disciplined person, but like it works for me, so it's fine. I get the work done eventually. So it also helps that I like switch between a lot of different things. So if I'm bored of one thing and I'm sick of doing it, then I can just switch to the next thing. I like run things in parallel. So I can like I have an escape, like, okay, I'm sick and tired of doing data science. Let's go illustrate something instead.
See, yeah, that's cool. Mushroom is the mushroom is really cool. Mm. And yeah, I I'm just curious. So I forgot what I wanted to ask. So let me just yeah, it was about Zoomcamp. So in the Zoomcamp, in machine learning Zoomcamp, we had some deadlines. I guess for you it was helpful, right? So that's the deadlines were external, and
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
well, at
that's
least for me, that would be much more helpful than the deadlines I would set for myself to myself.
Yeah, the deadlines were helpful. Like, at some point, I was ignoring the midterm project because I didn't want to do it. I was bored, and I was like studying other stuff. And then it was like I only began it like in the second week. I was like, okay, I should do this now because I'm running out of time. And I did run out of time because I got stuck. And then I finished it. I think I submitted it like the Sunday before. After I got up early the Sunday, and I'm sitting working on the project the entire Sunday. And like I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have ignored this for all of the first week. But like having the deadline, I was like, okay, I gotta get this done. Like I might have skipped on it otherwise, but like I was okay, I want to stay on the leaderboard. I can't skip this project.
And then while you were procrastinating, you were reading. Procrastinating, I mean, taking some time off the course.
You can call it procrastination, it's fine.
You were probably reading about poison and toxicity of frogs, right?
No, I think I was making scientific illustrations or something. I can't remember. I was like convincing my brain that this is productive too, just the wrong kind of productivity.
And in general, how do you, well, you said that you use the sticky notes to, I think you said, bully your brain into
Yes.
doing stuff. But when it comes to actually studying, like taking notes and keeping your projects organized, do you have any system for that? Like any
No.
tools, time tracking tools, goal setting? Nothing?
No, I don't take notes because I forget to read them and I forget to pay attention if I'm making notes. So notes are like I never use them, they never help me. So if I like forget things, I just rewatch it or Google it instead because notes have never worked for me. And as far as like time tracking tools and stuff go, no, I don't use them. It's just like, okay, I have the deadline, but before the deadline, I just mess around and do whatever. As long as the work gets done by the deadline, I don't care what my daily schedule looks like. So like some days I will do a bunch of stuff in the day, and then some days I just do one thing in the day, like focus on one thing. So it's like whatever my mood is for that day, whatever I'm up to doing. But I don't really use like any structural tools or anything.
Oh. Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned notes because for me, notes is the only thing that actually works if I want to retain any information. So it's funny how everyone is different, right?
Yeah. Like I try taking notes because everyone's like, notes are your key to success. And if you don't take notes, you never like learn properly. So I was like, okay, well, I gotta take notes now. And I couldn't. I would forget to pay attention when I'm listening, so that I'd end up like listening to the entire lecture and I heard not a word. And I would forget them anyway. I wouldn't ever read my notes. I would forget what the notes mean. So notes just never worked for me.
Are there any drawbacks for self-studying? So let's say we compare a Zoom camp, where deadlines are, let's say, external, they are
Mm,
kind of forced onto you,
mm,
versus self-studying when you find material online and you take this, you learn it at your own pace.
mm.
So what are some of the drawbacks in this approach when it's completely self-studying, completely based on your own motivation and discipline?
Um, I think one of the drawbacks could be the same motivation discipline thing. That's like it's easier to not fulfill deadlines when you are the one setting them and nobody else is like responsible for them. And also, I think it can be a bit harder to make sure you are learning the correct things on your own. Like you could end up wasting time or resources studying something that down the line you're like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. Whereas if you're following a course or like a system somebody else made, you're like, okay, these are people in the industry. Obviously, they know what is more beneficial to study at a given time. So like they're having the resources compiled is obviously a lot easier and maybe to some degree more efficient. Like there's a higher chance of making a mistake when you're doing yourself, because before you studying you don't know anything about that thing, and then afterwards you can be like, okay, well, hindsight 2020, I shouldn't have done that. But obviously at this point, because I am doing all the self study, I think its benefits outweigh this, like the freedom you get and the how much more it works for me personally. But obviously it may not be for everybody, and like there are these things which are maybe better in like following a structured study program.
Do you find study groups helpful for you, or you prefer doing things yourself?
Yeah, I prefer doing things myself. I don't like study groups. I don't like I'm not very much a social person. I don't like doing things with others. I'm fine on my own. But I know for others they're like vastly helpful. Like lots of people have said that study groups give them the motivation and stuff to self-study. So I think for people who are of that like uh personality, it would be very helpful for them maybe. But personally I don't like them.
Mhm. Maybe other thing that study groups help with is the deadlines. So you as a group
Yeah.
decide on the deadlines, and then you walk through a course, even if this course is a self-paced course.
Mm.
Then you kind of work as a like in a small cohort, sort of like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Like
but for you,
I've never seen any appeal in that myself, because that's just not like how I like studying. But I assume for people who like the social part, they'd be a lot more motivated even with like multiple people doing it or something.
and then I think at the beginning you said one of the goals you have is to break into machine learning.
Yeah.
And so having this goal, does it help you to actually focus on studying and selecting which kind of material you want to focus on and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. Because now I'm reading more about machine learning. I'm trying to like learn more about how the industry works. I'm trying to find that what type of opportunities are open in machine learning, because now I'm like serious. Okay, I want to do machine learning. Whereas previously, at most, I've had like a passing interest in machine learning. Like, okay, it's cool, but I don't know if I'm doing it or no. So I never paid as much attention to it. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I need to seriously do this. So I should find resources. I should try and make connections in the machine learning world. I must try and get my name out there.
So sorry, I got a bit distracted. There's
It's fine.
F1 call for some reasons, and my phone will die. So need to, because I lost live chat. Anyways, yeah, and yeah, somebody keeps calling me. Sorry. But, I'm just wondering what else to ask you because now I got distracted. Um, well, maybe Zoomcamp. Like, what was in the Zoomcamp? There were two kind of parts. So there was the data science part, more focused on machine learning theory, and then there was more practical data machine learning engineering part. Which one did you like more?
Um, I don't know. I kind of like both. I didn't have like any particular preference either way. I didn't much like the ML op, like the cloud part with like the Kubernetes and Docker, because
You
I
did not
don't
like.
like that. No, I don't like it as much. It's like I don't want to focus on the ML ops part. Like obviously I know it's necessary if you're going in the industry or whatever, but like I preferred the working with code without having to worry how to get it running in deployment. But it wasn't like the way it was handled in the Zoom camp. I actually thought it was a lot more difficult from like what I had seen briefly out of the Zoom camp. But then like, okay, this is maybe not so bad, like after I'd done it. But like before, especially before like we reached those modules, I was like, oh goodness, we have to do like Docker. Because I was very much daunted by the fact that Docker is like this huge thing. I was like, okay, it's not so bad. It's fine. I can do this. But like I think those are probably my least favorite segments, was the especially the Kubernetes.
Mhm. Do you have any tips for anyone who wants to start ML Zoomcamp as a student now, for example, in a self-paced mode?
Tips. I don't know. use
How do
the
you suggest approach studying it?
um I don't know. I never really thought that much about doing it. I was just like, okay, I'm doing this. Maybe I don't know. I think I did find the Slack community very helpful. And I think one of the the Slack community, not only like asking them questions, because to be honest, I didn't do that as much. I preferred Googling instead of asking on the Slack. But even like just reading it, and if anybody's stuck, helping them. Because like in trying to help them, you realize that okay, I never understood this as well as I thought I did. And then if you're like helping them with things or you can further your own understanding. So
Mm.
I think that was like kind of the one thing maybe I could give. I don't really know what to give for tips.
That's a good tip. I think, at least for me, teaching is the best way of learning something. So
Mm.
when I can explain a concept, then I am fairly confident that I probably understand it more or less.
Yeah, because explaining in a way that somebody else understands is so much harder. And like I don't like going in Slack communities and interacting with people because I don't like doing that. But I try to make a point of doing it in this Zoom camp, and like grudgingly, I must say that okay, it did help me understand this better when I had to tell like help other people do it.
Then I don't know if you use it, and maybe you're uh, you're tired of hearing about ChatGPT, but what I found useful also is just talking to the to the chatbot about a
Mm,
topic and then just asking it questions and then making sure I understand it. Yeah,
mm.
that was very helpful. I guess for you, you said you don't really like study groups, uh, but yeah, it's like having a beer sometimes.
A fake study group.
Yeah, a fake study group, exactly.
Yeah, I never really thought about using ChatGPT in that way before. That's interesting.
Do you use it at all?
I have like messed with it a few times, but not like actually used it because I've never like I still go to Google first and never thought that I should ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, interesting. Well, let's see. I think we have a few questions. Um, yeah, one question is how can we learn about advanced topics like PhD level courses? Interesting.
Yeah, that could be hard. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure how much, like, how advanced you could go in. Like, there are lots of postgraduate resources available online as well. Like, you might have to pay for, there might be more paid than free. There might not be as much free resources, but I think you could go a bit way, like, with paid resources and reading research articles. And, like, I definitely think it is possible, but maybe harder than doing, like, undergrad stuff because there's a lot of resources for undergrad and maybe not that many for like PhD or whatever.
Yeah, because I guess there is more demand for beginner level stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I think people, I don't know if like that many people who are doing online self-study pursue that degree, like that high level of study or no. But I think it is possible. I don't think it is impossible. It might just be harder to study that kind of stuff on your own.
And also doing PhD on by yourself is probably difficult in a sense that you probably need an institution that helps you with research, helps you
Yeah,
with
yeah.
connections, helps you with access to, I don't know, labs or whatever,
Yeah, I
helps
don't
you.
know if you can like I don't even think it's possible to get a PhD, like PhD level entirely by yourself. But I've never really researched officially getting a PhD if you've not gone to like uni or school before. I'm not sure how that would work.
But for
But I
sure you
think
can
like
publish a paper without
yeah, yeah. I
being
think you
affiliated.
could get to that knowledge level on your
Mhm,
own.
mhm. Yeah, but and also like if you spend time doing this, you need to live on something, like you need to eat or
Yeah,
because
obviously.
usually university pays money, right? And
Yeah.
if you don't get income and you spend like 6 years doing research, can be
Yeah.
tricky.
That's
But
the practicalities of it.
but the main resource here is papers, right? So there are not so many other resources that you can use. That like there is no Zoom camp about some PhD level topic.
Yeah, I don't think so. But there might be like I think papers must be the major ones, or like getting if we can get like subscription to libraries or something where they have more in-depth stuff. I'm not sure like how that would work because not something I've like heavily researched myself. Like I've never been interested in getting to a PhD, so
By libraries, you mean like these electronic libraries from Springer or Nature or
Yeah, yeah,
this?
something like a publication that can get you access to like a lot more of the
Uh-huh.
higher level stuff than you can get
Like
access to.
IEEE, ACM, this kind of, I guess,
Yeah,
organizations.
what I'm assuming like being in a uni would give you access to, because like a lot of them have like, if you have like uni email address or stuff, you can log in. So I'm assuming that is the kind of stuff that uni already gives you access to. So
I remember having access to all this major. I didn't have to pay for reading articles
mhm.
because, like, it's another topic for discussion, right? Why do you need to pay 50 euros for a 3-page, 4-page scientific article? Also, funny that researchers who publish articles need to pay to publish articles. So, like, this is wrong on so many levels.
Yeah, it's like I'm in a lot of scientific communities on Twitter, and more than half of them are always complaining about how hard it is to just get researches published. Like you think that scientific institutions would be more welcoming of like it's new research, it's cool, we want to learn more about the world, but also you have to jump like 5 billion hoops and pay your arm and a leg just to get your research out there. So like it seems like a very counterintuitive process.
Yeah. That's why I like this archive, where it's just all the prints are there. But then again, you have to do a lot of filtering yourself. You don't know in
Yeah.
advance if a paper from archive is good or it's not. And most
Yeah,
of the
I
time,
assume that is like some of the money that they charge for is like you get curated resources.
Mhm,
Like there's a lot less chance of bad publications coming in those.
mhm. And then another question is related to uh, burnout. I don't know if you ever had to deal with anything like that, like when you cannot just study anything, and all you want to do is, I don't know, watch YouTube videos with cats. Did it ever happen to you?
I don't know. I don't think so. I like I haven't I don't know. I haven't really like taken a break in a while. So I'm not really sure. I feel like if I would stop, then maybe there would be an issue. But like it's fine. I've just been going for a while, so like I have the momentum.
And probably you mentioned a few times that you like to switch between topics. Like one
Yeah.
day you read about machine learning, and then the other day you create illustrations, right?
Yeah.
This helps, right?
Yeah, like I switch between a lot of things. Like right now I would switch between like my bioinformatics, machine learning, and I have in my illustration I have like two or three different projects I'm doing at the same time. So it's like if I get bored of one thing, I'm like, okay, hop onto the other, hop onto the other. So like I have like a fallback route instead of like getting doing nothing. Like if I were to doing only one thing, I feel this would be a bigger issue because I do get bored of things very easily. So I'm like, okay, I'm sick of this. I don't want to do it because I did like 2 days in a row, which I know is not a lot, but it's like I don't want to do this anymore. So I have like I can work on another project. I can do something else. And then I'm like, okay, I have some more interest in that project a few days later.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I think we should be slowly wrapping up. So maybe the
Mhm.
last question is, are there any books or other good resources that you can recommend to the listeners?
Um, that's a hard one because like
Studying
research is on
about
what?
machine learning,
Machine
also
learning.
studying machine learning, learning in general, bioinformatics, anything you think that would be interesting for the listeners.
Um, for Python, I can recommend like I had done a course which was very interesting, was Python for everybody. And I liked it because the person was not spending too long on the stuff. It was like a bit of a fast pace, but also it he went into a bit more in depth than like, okay, write so and so syntax because just because. Machine learning, I haven't like looked up that many resources as I have for other stuff, but like I can recommend the Zoomcamp and your book because I found those helpful. And I would say that they're like good resources. So I think I can recommend those. And for like the thing is, I haven't spent like a lot of time following specific resources because I jump between them so much. So it's hard for me to say like there's so many which I would have to like I could dig into my resources and say. So it's hard to like say off the top of my mind that okay, that's a good resource.
Did you take any course about studying? I know that there is a course on Coursera, Learning to Learn, something like this. Did you ever took, did you ever take anything like that, or from your school homeschooling you kind of knew how to
No, I
approach it?
haven't really taken anything. I have seen that learning how to learn course, and I think I watched its like introduction or something, but I was so bored, but I just closed it. I didn't like watch it further.
Okay, then that's all we have time for today. Thanks a lot
Mhm.
for joining us today, for sharing your experience about self-learning, and thanks everyone also for joining us today, for listening in. And yeah, I guess that's it for today.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the podcast. I really
Yes,
enjoyed it.
our pleasure. So yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks, you too. Bye.